Do, 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 do. It's me. Hello. Lost track of time, but here we are. I'm trying to fix my sleep schedule. Doing my best to just stay awake. Harder said than done, unfortunately. Let's see, let's find something to keep me awake while we continue working on random stuff. So Godot, Pong, Rust, this is what we are working on. And actually switch over to the correct screen. Look at this. Actually, today, before the stream, I was working on some stuff that was like not related like whatsoever. So this is like OBS WebSocket. It's not like OBS WebSocket. This is literally OBS WebSocket. Like there's, I mean, that's it. That's it. I recently updated the API to be compliant with, where is it? It got merged like today, which is pretty neat. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. So look, now when you look at the master branch, Godot 3.4.x, OBS WebSocket GD by uwin, that's me. Look at that, and we wrote some code here. It's mostly, it's a completely like self-contained file. Like I guess you don't even need to have the loader. So like if you didn't want to have the loader, you could just grab OBS WebSocket all by itself. And I guess I could just use like a custom logger thing. That's neither here nor there. Although I should actually have a check for this instead of just kind of like preloading it. Yeah, I guess I should actually do something like we pull this entire file into here, but that's okay. You know what? Because I'm so indecisive, I think I am just gonna pull the class into here. So it's not very complicated. In fact, you might say that it's like not complicated whatsoever. Yeah, so if we go into, we got logger, we have the big mega file. It's only about 1,000 lines, but most of it, a few hundred lines are actually taken up by the opcode. So I feel like that doesn't really count. But here we can do class logger. So there's your logger. Actually, let's close this. Quit me to the project list. We'll open up OBS WebSocket GD really quickly. Now the stream title doesn't match whatever the heck I'm doing right now, but that's okay. Send me. So there's your logger. Right. And then we'll just pull in this stuff. So we've removed another dependency, more or less. So it's almost completely self-contained. Wow, look at that. I guess the problem is that it's no longer portable, but whatever. That's fine. Method log. That's fine. Do all of this stuff. It's beautiful. Look at that. Completely self-contained now. Now it just kind of works without the logger even existing. So then we do one of these. So this is logger new. Just add a comment. So like, pulled straight out. Util class pulled out of another my usual implementation so that, let's see, OBS WebSocket G can be used completely standalone. Yeah, look at that. So then if we go into here, we can run the tests. We'll just run them all. It doesn't really matter. Look at that. Beautiful. And then we can also kind of just dynamically connect to my running OBS WebSocket instance. Yeah, there we go. It's beautiful. Oh, hello, Bumsy. Hello, hello. I was just talking to myself about how I may or may not have been doing work today. Was working on updating my OBS WebSocket thingy. Look at that. So look, I have a commit right there. Add Godot OBS WebSocket GD to library list. That's me. So now we're updated for OBS WebSocket 5.0. And it's actually, what I have is even better than what I used to have because it's now also unit tested. Oh baby. And newly, completely standalone. So all you need is the one file called OBS WebSocket. And then it should just work more or less. Yeah. It's extremely niche, but if you are building, I guess, applications instead of games with Godot, this could be pretty cool. No idea how it works. Well, you see, it's a WebSocket with just a bunch of constants. Handwritten, hand-generated bindings. So how it works, just a, I guess, a short explanation. It actually works very similarly to how I wrote my dynamic library loader thingy. I was also looking at Godot Alpha 3, but we're not going to do that today. Let's see. So here we go into Apps, OBS Studio, and you can see here they just have like a plugins folder that you just drop your DLLs into. So there's OBS WebSocket right there. And then now it's available here, OBS WebSocket settings. Look at that. There are your settings. My password is password, but you know, usually you want to change that. But once you have that, then all you need to do is set your username and password somewhere, settable at runtime, or you can just use the defaults, etc., etc. Is WebSocket 5.0 much better? I'm not sure what the difference is. I think the biggest thing is that you can batch commands. That seems to be the biggest API change. So that's neat. But I think the structure I came up with is pretty good. It's not a super deep class hierarchy, but you have your OBS message, and then everything is automatically parsed into their respective messages. So it should work, and it's also completely unit tested. So look at that. Or it's not completely unit tested. It's unit tested for the first few types of commands. Because as it turns out, writing unit tests kind of a snoozer. Let's get on with this. I closed everything for some reason, so let's open everything back up. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're interested, There's a link here. Free and open source as usual. Apache 2 license. I guess no, it doesn't need to be GPL2. If it was working, if it was directly interacting with OBS, I think it would need to be GPL2, but we don't need that. Oh, where's the Docs.RS? See, this is Rapier 3D, but I don't want Rapier 3D. I want Rapier 2D. Does no one ever look at the Docs.RS? And see, like, this is not... I want the API docs. This is JavaScript. Can this work for a game to connect to OBS natively? It's not natively, it's over WebSocket. So there is a way to connect to OBS natively, but I'm not sure that that's something that you would want to do. It's more for tooling. So mostly the things that I work on. So the idea is for something like this to actually be integrated with OBS. So, you know, for example, I'm able to do this mouse ripple, right? Which means I'm currently keylogging myself. Thus, what I could also do is listen for hotkeys while it's not on screen and then just do OBS stuff or something. You could send messages to OBS, yes. You can send, yeah, you send data to OBS and then OBS does a thing, so you can start recording, you can start streaming, you can, you know, move things across OBS, I guess. Like you can move elements around if you wanted to for some reason. I'm not sure why. But it just gives you like direct access to it, so sure. So anything you can usually do in OBS, that's what OBS WebSocket kind of exposes. Well, most of it. Control the plugin. It's whatever's defined in the API docs here. So this is on the regular OBS WebSocket site. So the 5.0 protocol, yeah. Look at that. Pretty good. And so all the requests that you can send, I think for the most part, you would be working with requests and then listening to either request responses. Yeah, so you'll usually be looking at, well, no, there's events, of course. I guess there are events as well, but then what I usually work with is requests. I thought there were community plugins. Yeah, there are community plugins. I'm actually using 2 of them, but I'm not sure how you would control a plugin from OBS WebSocket unless there is just something that exposes. Vendor is a unique name registered by a blah blah. I don't really know. Call vendor request. Request type. I guess you would need to like do a bit of research as to what you would need to request, I guess. But yeah, it could work. Oh, hello, Nova. Hello. I was just bragging to Bumdy about how I recently updated my OBS WebSocket Godot add-on to OBS WebSocket 5.0. It's beautiful. Unit testing is in progress. End-to-end testing is probably not feasible, but I could look into it. Look at that. 5.0. I also took out the editor plugin because I didn't want to maintain it. But here we are, back at this stuff again. Much, or possibly more exciting because it's actually visual as opposed to just being something that you control OBS with from Godot, since I feel like most people don't actually use Godot for applications anyways. Although I think the biggest things made with Godot so far are actually applications. Yeah, like isn't like there's not really like a huge game made with Godot, but there's Material Maker, and then there's Pixel-O-Rama. Yeah, Pixel-O-Rama is one of them. So this is made with Godot. You can see it's a GD script. And then there's Material Maker, which is also free and open source. Very cool. And then, yeah, this one has 1.5K. This has almost 3K. So that's pretty cool. Things I finished the Godot so far. Non-game apps for clients. Nice. Yeah, it feels like most of the popular stuff made with Godot aren't games. Like I know the history of Godot is that it was the biggest things it was used in the past. The biggest things it was used to make in the past were like Deponia ported to PSP. Oh geez. Why did this get so slow? Was I just talking so long I didn't notice? Yeah, you got the ponging. I do have the ponging, and it's all driven via this external physics system. So if we go back to Godot, you can see that, look at this. I only have these nodes available to me. So there's the canvas layer, there's the canvas layer which holds my background, there's the camera just to, I don't know, I feel like the camera actually isn't super necessary for me. And then there is the unnamed node, which is actually the ECS. Or I guess it's completely on the Rust side. So that's the ECS that's running all the logic for me. And so we're able to move things, move them on the visual server, and then the collision is just handled by Rust instead. Although it feels like it's kind of lagging behind, but I'm not entirely sure if that's true or not. Yesterday's problem was a bug. I tried to disconnect, but that signal is non-existent. Are you talking about the joint 2D? Is that what you're talking about? Oh yeah, look at that. Nice. Okay, cool. Well, I guess at least you're validated. You know you're no longer alone. Let's see. It probably lags when it runs. Yeah, well, because there's some errors on the back end, right? It makes it tough. Actually, you want to get weird with it right now. So we can, I can actually do this really quickly just to see if it'll work. So we take my GD native runtime loader. Just delete the zip, we don't need the zip. Grab this, move it into my Godot Pong Rust folder. We'll create an add-ons folder. Boom. Drop this into here, go back to Godot. And then we no longer need to have the GD native library stuff, which is hilarious. So we just get rid of all of these native script libs. Go back to here. This will load incorrectly if I try to run it now. But if I create a plugins folder, I hope this works first try. That would be super cool if it did. That's a folder. Or that's a file. This is a folder. Plugins. Would it work? I'm 90% sure it will work. So we can call it, I don't know, like Rust ECS. And so I need a config.ini file. So call it general. Actually, technically, I don't need a general file. If you don't pass in a general file, it just assumes that you want the defaults. Hope initialization order fits. It should work. Maybe. But this is more just showing off. Hopefully this should just work. So we do ECS factory. So ECS and the ECS factory, the order doesn't matter. And this is called ECS factory, ECS. So not, yeah, like that. ECS factory is a reference, extends, reference. Actually, is it, in INI files, you don't need to have the, you don't need quotes, right? You can just do it like this in an INI file. Is that right? Yeah, okay. Well, not INI. Wait, I thought INI files you didn't need the quotes. Godot is INI, but isn't it in regular INI if it doesn't have quotes, it just tries to figure it out? Or is that not true? I don't know, I'm not super familiar with INI. Other than, like, I know how to use it when I see it, but... Alright, DLL. It depends. Okay. Oh, actually, I do need to have a general file, right? So... Hold on. How does this work? Who wrote this? Alright, I need to find it really quick. So GD native... I need to see how my own thing works. Oh, yeah. There are variants? Okay, well, let's hope that Godot's variant is fairly robust. All right, what did I call this? This is rust.dll. All right. So instead of doing this, what we're instead gonna do, we'll grab the GD native loader. Don't need most of these. Yeah, I remember I used to use INI files when I was bootstrapping like a test harness. So like the problem with bootstrapping a test harness across a lot of developer machines is that you can't, it's the same problem I actually ran into with this application, where not everyone's Python versions are like up to date or even like recent at all. So like people are using Python versions, people are still using like Python 3.6, but some people are on Python 3.10. So it's really tough to tell which libraries are available. So I remember I was trying to do all the configuration in YAML, but these developers don't actually have pip installed for some reason. I don't know how they're getting all their, I don't know how they're getting their resources. All right, so there's your runtime loader, right? Then, yeah. Oh, and then loader, I guess we'll just pass in the direct path, although I don't think I need to pass in the real path if I'm remembering correctly. So let's see, this is a really short file, so this shouldn't be too bad. Default search folder. Oh, I'm using the, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, that'll work. We'll do var ECS factory is equal to loader. As it create class ECS factory, probably. All right, so check this out. And then we can do the rest of the fun stuff here. So ECS is equal to ECS factory, new ECS. And then we'll do the add child. All right. Wouldn't that be cool if this just works first try? Ah, expected 2 arguments. That's fair. What was the other part? Create class. Oh no, did I mess something up? Oh, it's from the library name. Oh. All right, hold on. It's, what did I call the library? I called it Rust+ECS. So this is Rust+ECS, ECS factory, because it doesn't know which library to load. That's true. Non-existent function. Oh no, it's not working. Okay, we might just go back to the other part. The previous, no valid library called Rust+ECS found for the current architecture. You know what? That might make sense. Hold on. How does this work? Who wrote this? Setup. Oh, yeah, my bad. There's a few things you actually need to do. So loader, pre-setup. Then you just have the regular setup. So these are actually separated into 2 steps because I think if you're writing a C library, you can actually pass in like custom setup commands for the library as a whole, which is kind of weird. Rust doesn't actually support that. Okay, well. How sad. Unable to parse config at config ini. You know what? It might be these parts then. Give it a try. Aha, okay, it works now. All right, so Rust, or no, Godot's ini parser requires strings to have quotes. That's interesting. But yeah, there we go. Now we're just hot loading it. There's not really a huge benefit to doing that, but not a huge benefit to doing it like this, but I thought it'd be fun. So I wonder, can I pass in a relative path? I think that should work anyways. Oh, it totally works. So we take out this DLL, just delete it. Give it the old delete. Yeah, okay, so look at that. It also works using relative paths. That's fun. We can demonstrate it because if we intentionally butcher the name, it breaks. Cool. All right. How fun. Yeah, I should probably profile it at some point to see, is it faster to, or is there like a, I guess a significant slowdown to loading it like I'm doing it? So instead of pre-generating the config files, what I do is I just generate all the actual config files on the fly. Does it matter? Probably not. It's probably about the same performance. Right, because I guess at the end of the day, what Godot is actually doing after it loads your config file is it just runs this class anyways. So it calls initialize and then terminate, which is what I'm also doing. Yeah. So yeah, it's, if there is a performance hit, it's probably just that like load time, because I guess I need to parse the config file. Actually, if it's just parsing, if you have a lot of, you know, native script files, it might actually take your system longer to parse every single file, as opposed to just my 1 mega file for ini stuff. That's fun. That's fun. Look at that. It's beautiful. Then the only problem is that you need to hold on to the loader somewhere. So probably what would be the best would be to auto-load it, so it's just like in the background. Yeah. How does it separate platform-specific libraries? Like this. So you can see here I have this. This is a one-to-one copy of the GD native library thingies that you have to set in Godot. Yeah, when it builds an also editor. What do you mean when it builds and also editor. I think if you have like a debug build, it's going to be the same way either way. So if you do it the Godot way, or if you do it my way, there's no difference, right? Actually, if you do it my way, it's easier to set debug builds because you don't need to fiddle with the GD native library controller here, the little interface that you usually need to click around in. Yeah, mine's actually more efficient. That's convenient, yeah. So I think what we can do is we can just auto-load it. I mean, that would be fun, right? GD native runtime loader. Does not, oh, it does not inherit a node, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you would just need to auto-load this somewhere. So usually in your manager class. And then afterwards, your loader does need to be destroyed. I forget how I did the destroy stuff though. Oh yeah. Pre-delete. It cleans up all the libraries pre-delete. Yeah. It's beautiful. But it's just more of like a something fun. Something that's less fun is having to figure out all of this. So how am I going to restructure this? Rewrite that. Well, this is okay. Like most of these structs are all right. What I think I'm going to do is I'll split them up into just different. Well, I feel like all right, we can put all the components into like a components file. I think that's just easier. Components rs. That's fun. This is a physics body. Yeah, okay. Maybe play with signals. What am I using signals for? The hard part about the ECS is that I don't actually have access to Godot when the ECS is running. Well, that's not true. I don't have access to regular things, if that makes sense. Actually, I'm not sure. That might not be true. So Godot, Rust, docs. Give me the docs. Docs RS. Do I have access to the engine? I do have access to the engine. Oh. Then from the engine, we can grab the main loop, maybe. No? Maybe not. Isn't it like you have access to the main loop via the engine singleton? Or is that not true? Yeah, there's the main loop. Main loop. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, actually, that might work. Yeah. I could get access to just the normal scene tree by doing that. See, the problem, besides this, ignore this. The problem with using the ECS is that you cannot store references to any Godot stuff. Or it's hard to store references to Godot stuff, especially if you're passing around the pointer. So that's tough. That's tough. Which means that every time in every single system, when we want to interact with the, I guess just regular Godot stuff, we need to call something like, it's like engine, Godot, singleton, and then like get main loop, something like that. If we ever want to interact with Godot proper. That's only inside of the ECS. I think there could be a bus to handle signals between Rust and Godot more like. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's feasible as well. So that's actually what this data structure is doing. This data structure, the input queue. So That's what I'm doing here in the... Is that not what I'm doing? Maybe that's not what I'm doing in process? No, that is what I'm doing, yeah. So in process, I queue up all your inputs. I just capture your inputs, and then every time and then I pass everything over to the ECS, and then the ECS runs. This input queue is a resource in the ECS. And so in paddle system, you can see that we grab the input queue and then drain it. Cache some ECS variables in Godot as well, like on pool arrays or sorts. Why? I guess what's the point of doing that? Like, I think doing like engine, like get singleton, maybe that's actually, that's not a Godot singleton. That's like, how do you get an auto loaded thing? I guess it's still like get main loop, then get tree. Yeah, main loop, and then you need to just grab something somewhere to get one of your auto loads, and then you can do some stuff after that. Godot can do logic without Rust interfering. Well, I mean, Godot can always do logic without Rust interfering, right? So I can do the same thing here. So you can see that I still have the debug command, so we can press space. Ooh, crashed. Socket error. Oh, it's because of... Oh, I see. It's because of this part. Godot hates it when you initialize your libraries twice. But there's no way for... I guess I could track that in the loader, but I don't want to. You see, Godot never knows when the ball hits the paddle. This is true. Oh, okay, so you're saying that we could have a structure like a signal queue. So I have an input queue and then like a signal queue. So we can do like a struct signal queue. We'll just have another queue, which is a vec decay of... I guess it's like Godot string, right? And then we'll just emit these later. Signal fired when Rust fires it, right? What I was more thinking... Well, I'm not sure. I think any signals would have to be done... Well, no. Here's what we could do. It's in the process thingy. So we run the schedule, and then we can just do let mutable signal queue is equal to self world get resource mutable signal queue. Something like that. Also, Godot can handle its own signals depending on what Godot has received data. Yeah. I think that's what I can do. So here, we'll insert a new signal queue. So we'll grab the inputs, run the ECS. You know what? That could be kind of tough. I don't have to work on my game some more. The rest of your evening goes well. Same to you. Thanks for hopping in. Sorry there isn't too much more. I'm a little mind flooded with how to tackle the rest of this. But yeah, catch you later. So input queue. How am I passing a default for input queue into here? No, this is just input queue new. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I'm not using default. No worries, just want to see progress each day. Yeah. Progress is gonna be slow with this stuff until I actually figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, but good luck with your stream, etc., etc. Hope it goes well. Immutable Q. So this needs to be a vec deq. Well, we can just do a vec deq new, because it doesn't need to infer, probably. Make it contiguous. Return signal Q. Q. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. So we have several queues. What I'm thinking now is I probably should be running the ECS on like a separate thread so it doesn't block. Because there's not really another way for me to handle the... Well, I don't know. Maybe the ECS already runs on a separate thread by default. That might be kind of cool if it actually does, if it works like that. Right, because the problem is, what I was thinking is we'll grab your inputs here and then pass everything to the schedule and then handle the signals afterwards, after it runs the schedule. But that doesn't seem correct. Right? I think what I should actually be doing is running this on a separate thread. Like, basically, like the schedule run thing only runs basically on a tick, if that makes sense. I don't know. This feels like it's slow though, because we have to block and wait for the ECS to finish running, and then we can run the rest of the signals. It's easy to handle the thread. It's fairly easy to handle the thread, yeah. I think the hard part is that once it's in a thread, you no longer have ownership of the object. I mean, I guess you could. I don't know. Let's see, what did I do for real-time lip sync? Real-time lip sync, because real-time lip sync also runs on a thread. So looking at lip sync RS, was it this one? Yeah, the job thread. So create job. Oh, it's in job. Yeah, no. What? Is it not where I thought it was? Job, create job. Yeah, job. Where is it? Yeah, create job. So this creates multi-producer, single consumer. You know what? I think I could do that. Yeah, I can follow this pattern here. So I just set up a multi-producer, single consumer thread. So a sender and a receiver. And then we'll just have to exchange the threads between each object, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then this thread will just need to listen for ticks, but that requires like a complete rewrite of how this works, right? Because right now, the ECS world is the only thing that handles the ticks via the delta structure. Because right here, you can see that I grab the resource from the world and then set the tick, set the delta on the ECS delta. But if I do it on a separate thread, which is the hard part, right? I no longer am allowed to just touch the ECS if I move the ECS to a separate thread. Would you commit before changing more? I think I've already changed most of the stuff that I feel nervous about. I guess I might as well, right? Godot+Rust. What did I add? I added the add-on. Okay, git add all. So git commits. So this is like live load Rust.dll instead of using GD native helper classes, helper files. Yeah. You added dynamic lib, that's sketchy. Did I? No, I didn't. Did I? Did I? Cat grep DL. Did I? Ooh, did I accidentally? There's no way. Did I? Am I dumb? Changes to be committed. Hit. Plugins. No, I don't think I did. Yeah, alright. I'm pretty sure I didn't, but let me check. You got me worrying. I thought that was in my my thing. But it's also not showing up when I look for stuff, so I don't know anymore. Did I accidentally send the DLL? No, I didn't. Yeah, no, I didn't. I don't know where in my git ignore it's ignored, but it's not there. All right, but let's start making big changes. Let's start making big changes. So this is broken. We have a break here. That makes sense. This doesn't work. Probably should not have committed so fast, but let's commit that. We'll rebase really quick. There we go. Just force push. Pretend that commit didn't happen. All right. So let's start rewriting all of this. So we can take out the ball system because we're not using that. Because I guess it might be nice to have the ball system, but we're not doing anything in pre-update with this. So say goodbye. I think this order makes sense. I know I can split up the system. Well, I mean, this is already like pretty split up, right? I know you are able to further subdivide each stage. So you, instead of just having pre-update, update, and post-update, like you can have like stages inside of the update stage. I would need to, I don't remember how exactly to do it though. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with like setting the schedule. Yeah. Are those required to be separate? Yes. Otherwise they'll run in parallel, which is tough. So you always want to do input first, collision, and then rendering in that order. So like inside each stage, the order in which they run is not guaranteed. I think there are ways to guarantee it, but it's just safer to put them in different stages. So like this is the order that we 100% want to process everything in, right? Because you don't want to process like paddle input and collision at the same time. Otherwise you might have some collisions that slip by you. Yeah. Or I guess collisions that don't get processed in the correct order. It's weird. Yeah, it's just a different way of thinking about it. I think Godot actually does a very similar thing. So Godot server run order, or something like that. Hold on. I've seen it before. Was it this one? Yeah, something like that. So the typical order of execution, main blocks of a game engine. So you have your logic, which is the input, physics, and then rendering. Yeah. Something like that. And then Godot does a weird thing with... This is essentially what Bevy does for me as well. So we have logic all on one thread. Physics is multicasted, so I think Bevy tries to multi-thread as much as possible, maybe? Or at least Rapier should be trying to multi-thread. Maybe Rapier doesn't do that for you by default, and I'm missing something. Yeah, all right. This is slightly cleaned up. Let's move all the components over to their own thing, just so it's a bit cleaner. So this needs to use... what am I importing from Bevy? Oh, I'm just importing the prelude. Fantastic. Use... Hold on. You need to add components to this. Mod component. Just so it's accessible for each of our libraries. Then use Bevy ECS. What is it called? Component. Where is it? Oh, this is uppercase component. Yeah? Is this not what it's called? No? Components? Please, it's one of these. Where does this come from? It's in the macro. Okay, well, I don't know if this is re-exported or not. This is in derive component librs. Oh, it's a procedural macro. Well, where is this exported from? Let me see. Mod component, sure. Component rs, and then this uses... don't know. Unresolved import. Components. Is this not what it's called? Or is this not something that you're allowed to... Oh, just component. Component, okay. There we go. So we'll just move all of this stuff over. Say goodbye. This needs to be a pub struct. Physics body needs to be implemented here because you're not allowed to do this kind of stuff in different crates. And then because these are not using like any Godot stuff, we don't actually need to import GD native here. So this is Rapier 2D. Probably in the prelude. So this is rigid body handle. And then collider handle. Don't know why it's not giving me code completion, but it's freaking me out. Paddle speed, no. There's your paddle. Your velocity, I don't think I don't need to have velocity anymore, so we'll just keep that separate, or we'll just get rid of it entirely. Drawable, that's usually pretty good. I think I'm going to keep that as a Godot thing, although I might have to implement my own new type wrapper over it, so that I can, yeah, I might need to implement a wrapper over it so that I can convert between Godot transforms and algebra transforms, because those are not the same thing. RID and then transform 2D. Probably available here. Maybe this is just in the prelude. See, this is something I never really understand where these things come from. Are these in the... Yeah, these are just in the prelude. Alright, Godot inputs. That's not a component. Yeah, these are just resources, I guess. Yeah, okay. We'll start doing the Java thing and just split everything up. So ECS resources RS. then we'll just pull everything in afterwards. So mod ECS resources. Boom, boom. There we go. Actually, that's not true, because the Rapier World is also an ECS resource. That's fine. We'll grab that later. There's Delta. There's your input queue. Input queue. Slap this into here. Signal queue. Slap that into there. This has a problem because we don't have a vec de queue. Standard. Big vec to queue. Should be all right. And then there's a problem with drain. Okay, so we don't have a drain. All right, cool. Everything else is required. Unresolved import. Oh, vec to queue. Drain. That should be fine. We'll grab physics and then just pull this out as well. I need to think about how to make this work better. But this is a resource though. So this does belong here. So what did we need? We needed a read-write lock. Plus, we need Rapier 2D. Pretty much everything in the prelude, so we'll just star import and then hope it's good enough. What things are we using? So there's a vector 2, which I think is a Godot data structure. So this is a GD native. I believe API vector 2 is correct. It might be in the prelude as well. Yeah, it's in the prelude. Okay, cool. Give this a save. Physics, say goodbye. librs, we no longer use physics, but now we need to pull in everything that I just took out. So crate, this will be ECS resources. I'll just import everything from there, why not? Alright, what else are we missing? We are missing... Oh, these aren't public enum. Pub enum. Pub enum. Alright, those are your components. ECS resource. These all need to be public enum or public structs as well, so that they're accessible from other crates. Something that kind of annoys me with a lot of Rust crates is that they only make their enums like, or the structures public within the current library. So you can do something like public crate. So it's only visible to things inside of the crate. But I'm like, I don't know, man. We're all adults. If I want to, you know, manually define a table in like a database, I should be allowed to do so. Which is actually one of my big complaints with, it's SQLX, which is the biggest database crate for Rust. So that makes it very hard to mock out like a database service. Like it's kind of a weird thing to want to do, I guess. Because usually you would just use like a real database if you want to do testing, but that's not how I roll. I hate running a database on my own system. Alright, so we need to use components. SQLX. SQLX is the, yeah, SQLX Rust. Yeah, this is the biggest Rust crate for SQL stuff. So I was about to use it for SQLite stuff, but because SQLite is my favorite database, if only because I hate using databases. but it's nice to use if you are doing like really heavy database stuff, but it also enforces correctness as well, which is, you know, as someone who likes using SQLite, I'm not the biggest fan of correct. And then these are all public, or these are all public fields. Is there a way to define, like, you have like visibility within this thing? Like it's crate visible by default. Let's see. Rust crate visible default. Visibility and privacy. Yeah, visibility, Rust by example. By default, the items in a module have private visibility, but this can be overridden with a public modifier. Only public items of a module can be accessed from the outside module scope. It's not what I want. Alright, that's fine. We'll figure out the rest later. So, physics body. That's true. This needs to be public. Everything needs to be public now. That's fine, though. I guess that's technically more correct. Technically more correct. This needs to be public. I don't think you need to make enum fields public. Do you need to make enum fields public? No. Do you? Oh, okay. So the resource... Oh, this is... Oh, yeah. I forgot. All right. So we haven't really changed anything, but we might as well just try a rebuild really quick. So, Rust cargo build. Hit it with a quick rebuild. There's no new logic, but we just move things around. Look at that. So, reload current scene. Is there a way for me to... Let's add an auto load, I guess. So I do just have an app manager that I'm not using at all. Am I in the right project? Oh, this project doesn't have a name. Godot+Rust, sure. I just noticed, yeah. This project never had a name. How strange. Alright, then there is no logger. Or logger. App manager. Add the app manager as a auto load, just so we can access stuff. Reload me. Takes a little bit. All right, so now it's loaded, which means we go back to logger. Do this. App manager is not currently loaded in the current scope. Yes, it is. All right, we might need to just restart. Playing with GD script callables, so again, yeah. That's a pretty good part. I like the change to function refs in Godot 4. I guess they're no longer function refs. Functions in Godot 4 are now like first class thingies, so you can just pass them around really easily. I think I talked about this before, but I used to use the pattern of like you have a variable, right? And then I just have a function with the same name as the variable, but that no longer works in Godot 4. So it's kind of bad practice, but I like doing things like that. All right, let's see. There's your logger. Var loader. See map filters on arrays, new tween system. I like the new way of using callbacks, or what are they called? Connections. Yeah, connection callbacks is really nice as well. It's pretty neat. The hard part about using the connection callbacks is they're not globally scoped within the class, which makes sense. But also, like you can still technically globally scope it as long as you pass in the variable afterwards. Yeah. The new signal system is nice. Yeah. New signals combined with the lambdas. You know, chef's kiss. Pretty sick. So there's your runtime loader. And then runtime loader, what does this need? Preload this thing. I'll do new based off of, well, actually, we'll just call new, it's fine. Look at that. It's beautiful. So we only ever initialize it once. So it'll be loader, pre-setup, and loader, setup. Yeah. Take this out. Now this is just app manager. Yes. So one of the nice parts is, look at that. As long as we never like unload a library at runtime, we can just restart it as much as we want. And then this is all still controlled via Rust. Yeah, this should have been from the start. Well, I mean the system they had before was already like fairly okay, not bad. You know, there's not actually that many languages that decide to go with like Python style syntax. Surprisingly enough. So whatever they got going on, not too bad, not too bad. So paddle system, we don't need the physics world because we're not doing anything with it, I think. Now we have an error though. Or maybe it just needs to be not mutable. Oh yeah, it definitely does not need to be mutable. And actually, this is not possible for the physics world to be mutable, but the resource to not be immutable. Or I'm not sure what would happen, should we say. But we're not making any changes to it. Right? Yeah, because we're using interior mutability. Yeah, because we grab the body with a read-write lock and then do a thing to it. Then set the position of it directly since the paddles are kinematic bodies. Yeah. Now the collision system is where this gets kind of weird. It's almost as if like for this, I could probably, I guess there's a few things I could do. I could just implement like send sync for Rapier 2D or Rapier World 2D. So, I mean, that's not something you usually want to do, but you could do unsafe. So it's unsafe implement send, what is it called? For Rapier World 2D. Something like that. And then unsafe implement sync for Rapier World 2D. Something like that. Which means that we are now able to do, I guess these are not read-write locks anymore. These would be ref cells. So use standard, what is it called? What is ref cell under? So is it under RC, ref cell? No, that's reference count. I don't remember. Godot, no, it's not Godot, Rust, ref cell. Standard cell. So ref cell, sure. Something like that. Grab this, comment it out. Then this is just a bunch of ref cells, which means that we can change the underlying implementation as well. So then this is all different. Wait, actually, doesn't that mean here we can also do public function, we'll call it, I don't know, step as well. So step mutable self, and then we need to, it's really just delta, isn't it? So delta, some sort of F32. And then possibly, no, that's it, right? Yeah. Need to learn all this reference type, mutable borrows in Rust. Perhaps. I don't really know what a reference type is. Unless you're talking about like the ref cell, in which case that's just a reference to a place in memory. I don't know what a reference type is though. You know, mutable just means that you just change it in place, essentially. It's like a pointer. You know, you have data at a specific point in memory, and then you change it. I feel like if you, let's talk about this yesterday, but like the difference between like immutable and immutable is that like immutable is pretty easy for the compiler to compile away as well, which is nice. Yeah, I'm passing values around. Yeah. Well, the hardest part for me that took me a while was understanding what the difference between like a mutable reference to yourself and then just like a mutable or an immutable reference to yourself, what the difference between those two were. And I guess like clearly the difference is, you know, easy. One is mutable, one is not. But then with the immutable reference to yourself means that you also must borrow yourself into the scope, which means that nothing else can use this struct while it's currently borrowed in that scope, if that makes sense. Whereas if you just have a reference to yourself, you know, you can have multiple readers, but only one thing can be writing at a time. And even then, that can be kind of dangerous if you're multi-threading. So let pipeline equal self pipeline. I guess it needs to be borrow muter. Mute. Get mutable. I guess we can do this. So what does this give? This gives me a ref mute, and then we don't need to do anything with that because it already implements dref. So let mute islands equal self islands. We do need to just borrow all of these though, which is kind of painful. Like, how would you know that trick like many other ones? I guess like you would get that from reading the Rust book. It's just not something that really stuck with me until I actually, you know, started writing things. I think if you learn pretty easily from a textbook, I think Rust is fairly easy to learn. Because most things are just documented, but I don't learn very well from textbooks. Like I'll read it, I'll be able to like, you know, recite back whatever the heck I just read, and then I'll immediately forget I'll immediately forget it right after. think I benefit more because I always have like a ton of like tiny little questions. It's like, what's the difference between, like, you have a query, but why is the query mutable? What's doing like having a mutable query? Because you can also do like a mute query like that sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. So it's like, is it the data type or is it like the parameter that makes it mutable? That's still something I'm a little fuzzy on. I can learn but forget after. Yeah, I need to be able to tag it back to something in the real world. And then also I need all my tiny questions answered. Like the big stuff, easy, no problem. It's more like the small stuff that I always get caught on. And it's also kind of hard for me to know which things are important for me to remember, because I'm pretty docile. You know, you can tell me pretty much anything. I'll be like, yeah, that seems all right. I won't question it up until like I come to the part where I should be questioning it, and all right, well, now I'm completely lost. CCD, borrow, mute. All right, just absolutely beautiful. Then we have our gravity, which we, physics world. So you learn from the Rust book. I skimmed through the Rust book. I think it's in, yeah, just the Rust book. So I skimmed through most of it. I've read like roughly 3/4 of this. I think the ones that, I think if you're familiar with programming, you can skip most of the, you can skip most of this part. I skipped most of this part as well because I don't know, I just got bored. I just got bored. The stuff that I mostly read was like error handling, enums and pattern matching. That's pretty good. Traits, that's pretty good. Let's see. Smart pointers, that's pretty good as well. Smart pointers. Concurrency, I read a lot of that. I didn't read any of the object-oriented stuff. Patterns and matching is pretty good. Because you see pattern matching a lot in Rust. I read all the advanced features as well. Macros, well, everything except for macros. Macros is tough. I need to know memory stuff. Maybe lacking in that. Maybe. Well, I think that it depends on what you mean by like the memory stuff. So like there's a ton of like possible memory things that you could be talking about. So are you talking about like borrows? Are you talking about like lifetimes? Are you talking about just like concurrency? Like concurrency in Rust is not too bad. I think lifetimes lifetimes can be pretty bad. Because usually, like for most Rust thingies, the lifetime, it's elided. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's just assumed. So it's your standard lifetime thing, right? So once something goes out of scope, its lifetime is over. But like in Rust, you can actually manually define your lifetime as well. So you can pass along how long you can pass along like the scope in which a variable lives, which is kind of weird. And I'm actually not sure how to use it well. I only know how to use it when like a library asks me for a lifetime. And then I usually just pass in like all right, you know, here's the lifetime that's basically in global scope. Have fun. Figure it out, I guess. So let's see, gravity. Maybe this gravity should be, maybe this should be, well, passing the whole app as a scope. Yeah, well, that's something that you could do, right? It's like the same thing. It's almost the same thing as like how I write C applications. So like I've never formally learned C, but I've written a very short game to be sure, but I wrote it without doing any allocation. So I just had everything just on the stack, and was just very careful about memory access. It was also like a very simple game as well, so I guess it wasn't like, you know, I never changed screens. So you can think of it like the screen was on the bottom of the stack, and then all the game logic was just like, what is this? It was like a card guessing game. I don't remember what it was specifically. But memory management is something I really prefer not to use. But I know that you're not supposed to pass in the entire app as the lifetime, though. And most things in Rust, I think, reject it for the most part as well. Lacking standard libraries is a huge part of Rust. The standard library? Rust's standard library is pretty sick. C's standard library I don't quite understand. Like which one am I supposed to use? This one I'm thinking, how am I supposed to use this? So like this seems wrong. I feel like I should be able to use this gravity parameter. Actually, yeah. So macro vector, this gives me an n algebra vector, so I should be able to grab... Yeah, isn't this just in n algebra? So Rapier 2D does, yeah, this re-exports n algebra. So vector 2. What the heck is a vector 6? A 6-dimensional column vector. That's crazy. The heck is a 6-dimensional column vector? 6-dimensional? So that means that you have a vector of vectors of vectors of vectors of vectors of vectors? What would you need 6 dimensions for? Like even like a 4-dimensional vector, you're starting to get into like dark forbidden arts territory. Alright, so I don't think I'm using this. So now we're using n algebra as vector 2, which means that this is probably wrong. What is this? Missing generic. Oh, that's good. Probably an F32. It's pretty common. What is your problem? Expected 4 arguments, found 2? What are you expecting? Oh, it's expecting a matrix. What? Okay. How do you create a vector? Okay, this is how you create it. We use the vector macro, of course. So we'll grab. Where does this vector macro come from? So this is from n algebra macros. Maybe AI? Yeah, possibly. Wouldn't. Well, I can't really talk about AI. I don't actually know that much about it. I suppose. Maybe. Vector excited. Look at that. So there's your vector. And then we'll pass this into the thing. Then we'll need to also have the... Maybe the integration parameters could probably be stored on this object as well. Like we don't need to create new ones every single time. So integration parameters, yeah, okay. Integration params. Oh, hold on. Public integration params. Well, parameters, why not? Probably just integration parameters. Like it's just a struct, I think. Integration parameters is equal to integration parameters. Oop, not allowed to do that. I don't know, what are we looking for? Oh yeah, you're supposed to do like dt is equal to, can set it equal. Well, actually, since this is just the constructor, right? We can just call it default. Oop. Something like that. And then we'll grab the integration parameters from here and then change the DT and then reuse the struct. Tomorrow whole Twitch will play Elden Ring. Oh yeah. Yeah, Elden Ring is coming out tomorrow, right? Did you see that it got like near perfect scores across the board? That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think I might get it as well. I wasn't planning on playing it, but if it's that good, if it's that good, it must be at least decent, right? It must be at least decent. Integration parameters. dt is equal to this delta value. Oh, and then we should probably do this. So integration parameters. I think it's, yeah, default. How do you do this? Let's see. Max position iterations. Max linear correction. Something like that. Yeah, then we just update our DT every single time. And then we'll do pipeline. Step. Yeah. So even though the whole idea story was stolen from Berserk, was it? I've only seen the YouTube video essay summaries on Berserk. You know, RIP, author, etc., etc. Add reference. Oh, these are all references. Oop. There's two things I'm missing, by the way. So CCD, empty, then empty. Something like that. Yeah, okay. I'm a Berserk fan, so it's in my top 5. I don't know. I haven't really finished that many mangas. I haven't finished that many like long-running mangas that I was like a huge fan of. Like I've read all of I've finished Tokyo Ghoul. That was pretty bad, especially like the ending. Don't really know what happened there. I think it was fitting at the very least, but Attack on Titan's ending was all right. I don't know how the author could have finished the story from there. I'm trying to think. All right, cannot be shared between threads safely. That's fair. Oh, geez. Expected mutable reference. Yeah, but I've never read any Berserk, so I'm not really qualified to talk about it. So we'll do all of this. Actually, we take out all of this pretty much. So comments, all of this. Story is something dark. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've seen the video essay, shall we say. So I know what happens broadly. Like it's a weird story, to be sure. Res mute. So I'll pass in delta 0, something like that. Oh, and then we need to grab the bodies. Maybe these should just be separate resources, and then we can add them and take them out whenever we want. So like Soul Story, like the Souls series doesn't really have any like real story to it, right? Like it's kind of there, but it's more like background. Like if you care about it, you'll read the item descriptions or you'll watch like a Vadi video on YouTube to get the lore. But other than that, it's not really there, which is, I guess, the point. It was banned in Japan, as far as I know, at the time it was released. I guess I'm not surprised. Like Berserk is like pretty grim. Kind of tackles a lot of weird topics, doesn't it? Especially not weird topics in like ew, but like I guess very non-standard topics for pretty much any story, right? Bad influence for kids? I don't know if it's a bad influence for kids, but I I get the sentiment. Yeah, for sure. So this is a rough cell. I don't think you can do this. Yeah, you absolutely cannot borrow this. Ooh, maybe you can do this. Ooh. So borrow, mutable, something like that. Long as probably consumed mostly by kids, but maybe that's the reason, but how he bans any of the stuff in modern times? Well, yeah. I don't know. Don't know. And all I know is that like censorship pretty much across the board is just very strange. Temporary value is dropped. Borrow later used here in 260. So I guess I need to grab the bodies first. Let's see. This will be a new record. New record for Steam and Twitch. Oh yeah. I mean, it's the fact that it was like super highly hyped. It was hyped so hard, and the fact that it's actually good. Like the amount of hype and it's also good. It's gonna be cool. You know what? Is this the kind of thing I should be like pre-downloading if I want to play it? Like I actually have all of next week off. I don't know if that's weird or not. Maybe I should just like maybe I should just play Elden Ring next week. Not on my own time, though. I don't really like to stream that kind of stuff. Alright, there we go. This is kind of better. Let's build it. Please work. Similar to Cyberpunk, yeah, it could be double it. No, I'm absolutely not going to stream it. I don't stream popular games. I only stream like weird old games. Like Yeast. I'm also not very good at any Souls game. I'm actually like pretty bad at Souls games. I'm not meticulous enough. And I also tend to panic. That's a big reason why I'm not very good at the Metal Gear Solid games either. It's because like once we're panicking, there is no getting out of the panic. We are completely lost. Good at FPS, terrible at Souls, don't know how possible. I'm okay at FPS. I'm better at... I shouldn't say I'm better at fighting games, but I'm okay at fighting games. But my reaction time is pretty bad, if that makes any sense. So, well, my reaction time is really good for like the first thing I need to react to, and then my reaction time after that is really bad. So if I need to react to something once, no problem. If I need to react to something like twice within like 5 seconds, you know, good luck. Patience for souls. Maybe, I don't know. I think my problem solving ability, my stand-up problem solving ability is usually just like throw myself at the problem. You know, I go full caveman brain, which is probably not the best approach for souls. Constant action like Overwatch. Oh man, Overwatch is fun. Big fan of Overwatch. Or was a big fan of Overwatch. I played a lot of that when I was still in school. I feel like this isn't good, by the way. But I guess as long as I run physics in its own step, it's probably fine. But actually, if we're already doing like an unsafe send sync, dynamically checked mutable memory location. All right, hold on. I know there's documentation on this. See some junkiness in the physics plus render. Is it me? No, there's a little bit of jank. There's a little bit of jank. So it's one, it's not completely smooth, but also I feel like the collider is not big enough, if that makes any sense. If you see like, no, that was okay. But yeah. It's because it's not interpolated. Yeah, yeah, for sure it's not interpolated, but like you can see that when we like scoot up into it, we're actually kind of clipping through parts of the thing. I'm wondering if it's like the extents are not big enough and actually like the object, I don't know. Yeah, like you're not wrong, there is some jankiness. So yeah, when you, oh, hold on. Yeah, so it is clipping through it a little bit. But I'm wondering if that's just something on my side. Or maybe it's like it's something here. Like I almost certainly it has something to do with this paddle system. So maybe I shouldn't be just setting the paddle position entirely. Or I guess entirely by position, and instead I should be setting its setting the velocity instead. Running faster than Godot or otherwise. I think it's probably because of this, right? I'm setting the position directly. So according to the documentation, that should be okay. This is the tick rate of a rapier. I'm not sure. Well, I am sure. The tick rate is whatever the delta time I'm passing in, right? So that's not a problem. The tick rate is synced 1-to-1 because you can see here that I'm running the entire ECS system based off of this delta time, which I grabbed from the process function. It's probably not a good thing that I'm using a variable tick, I guess. I suppose I could try it like this. So we do like a physics process instead, physics process. And see if that makes an appreciable difference. I don't think it will. Yeah, variable is better. Yeah, it could be, I suppose. Yeah. You know what? I was just thinking about something. What if I don't store these in a struct? Instead, I just kind of hang on to these as resources, so they just kind of float around. Yeah, so they're floating. Because I just need to grab these anyways. So if I just kind of float them in the ECS as resources, that could work. I just had the idea. I think that could work. Godot settings disable VSync will uncap the framelit limit? Maybe. I'm gonna see if I can do this first. So delta resource 0, which is the single field it holds. Does it need to be... Oh, unwrap. Give that a save. Self sketchy. Run. I'll pass in the world. Look at that. Comment this out. Yeah, we can see if that makes a difference. I don't... I have no idea. Oh, okay. Well, now it's not running at all. Did I call it wrong? Is this not physics process? Oh, I didn't export it. My bad. Yeah, let's see. We'll try this one first. Run me. Seems okay. Oh, that looks a bit better. Send me again. No. No, I mean, that still looks pretty bad. Yeah, that looks really bad. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, no. I wonder if it's like the size of the extents that I'm passing in. So if we go into the... Yeah, it's this one. Create paddle. This transform is correct. The visual server is probably correct. Then the create kinematic body. So paddle W. All right, create kinematic body. Am I automatically cutting this in half? Or am I cutting it in half twice? And that's the problem. So cuboid. No, it's a cuboid shape with a half defined by its half extent. So if I take out the half extent, so if I change the width to 1 just to make sure that we're doing the same thing over and over again. If I find the ball behind of the paddle, What do you mean behind the paddle? No. So the colliders that I'm passing in are correct. No, I think the width is correct, right? Because I suppose I doubled the size of each of the paddles. So now we're getting, yeah. Now it's just absolutely huge. Well, no. I think it's something to do with the collision system probably, or the paddle system. So like this kinematic body should probably be like kinematic velocity based, not position based, so that everything is based entirely off of the physics engine. I think that's probably the better solution. All right. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just pass in a bunch of resources. So world insert resource. So I'm going to need pretty much everything in Rapier Prelude. Do I have? Yeah, I pretty much have everything here. Where is it? Where is it? this is the wrong one. Resources. So physics pipeline. We'll just create a new physics pipeline. We'll just put everything in the. Yeah, we'll just put everything into the as a resource, and then we'll pass it to the. Yeah. So yeah. We'll do island manager. So we'll island manager new. We'll have to grab this later. What do we got? Imports. Yes. Yes. Okay, ECS world. Insert resource. Broad phase, and we'll just grab all this from the ECS itself. So that Bevy can handle the multi-threading for me. I think that's the plan. ECS world bodies. Yeah, I think this makes sense. I don't know if this is going to be like ultra slow though. Rigid body set. Create a new one. ECS world, insert resource. Collider set. Joint set. Why am I typing this out every single time? Insert resource, joint set. You can lower the tick rate to 30 to see how terrible it is. I guess I could. So we could just skip execution if we wanted to. So if the... I guess here in process, we could just stop ticking. Or not in process, in physics process. We maintain our own tick count. If that's what you're talking about. So half the rendering tick rate? Maybe. Let me see if this works first. So we'll grab... self world, get a resource, mutable. What is it called? Rigid body set. Unwrap. 9 problems so far, so that's good. Physics usually runs half of rendering in many engines. Okay, I could try that, but still wait on it a little bit. Compute heavy task. We'll wait on it. We'll wait on. I want to see if this pattern will work first. Can always go back as well. Alright, so mismatch types. Ooh, oh, this is rigid body set. Collider set. Boom, boom. Then rapier to D. We can change this function definition to really just be all of this stuff. See the interplay to double, it loses precision. Yeah, well, I think isn't the point of using the external, more accurate physics engine to have more precision? Yeah. So I think that's not something I'm really super keen on doing. pass in, I guess we'll have to pass in a mutable. This needs to be a mutable pipeline. Pipeline? Is that what it's called? See, this is something where I get kind of confused. Is like, how are you supposed to do this? Is this not here? What is it called? Physics pipeline. Sorry. Yeah, I guess that's still okay. So gravity, no, we need islands. Islands, mutable, island manager. So broad phase. Is a mutable reference to broad phase. Narrow phase, same deal. Don't remember what the other ones are, so we'll save. There's bodies. Rigid body set. Colliders, mutable. Collider set. Joints, which is joint set. The constant collision detection, CCD. CCD solver. Yeah, that should be okay. Yeah, okay, cool. There we go. And then we'll change this, so this doesn't take any parameters. We'll take these out, and then we'll just need to pass all of these along in the physics system, which is gonna be tough. Yeah. Well, it's like simultaneously like nicer and less nice, because now we can just do like bodies, which is going to be a like a res mute rigid body set, something like that. So borrow mutable. I think this needs to be mutable. No method names borrow mute found for struct. Borrow mute. Items from traits can only be used if the trait is in scope. Is this? That's not it. So it's a res mute. What do we have? Bodies. Get mutable. Yeah, get mutable. Wait. Oh, I guess we don't even need to borrow it, huh? We just need to like grab it. Yeah, okay. There we have. Yeah, there it is. It just works. Now we have a few other errors, of course, which are this one. So this one takes like a ton of things though. So we need the physics world. We do need the step as well. And then we'll need to grab pretty much everything else. So mute, pipeline, res mute, physics pipeline, mute, islands, res mute, island manager. Mute, narrow phase. If you are borrowing less, could mean it may run faster. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case, but I don't think there's any way around it in this case, right? Because we always need to grab some of these values. So like for physics, we always need these steps, I'm pretty sure. Right, because either way, we're always going to be borrowing. So we either need to read, write, lock, we either need to use a ref cell, and then I'm trying to avoid using just a ref cell, because if I want to use ref cell, then I also need to implement, you know, send sync, which is not good. You don't want to do that. All right, I suppose it's okay when you're working with things like Godot, but it's not something that you should do all the time. Which is the unsafe send sync. I realize that for real-time lip sync, that's actually what I've done here. But that's a different story. That's a different matter. Joint set and then mute CCD solver. There we go. Then we'll put all of this in here. So there's pipeline, islands. I guess these need to be mutable references as well, explicitly. Yeah, it looks like these need to be explicitly mutable references. Broad phase, narrow phase. Send me back. There we go. Bodies. CCD. Yeah, that's not bad. Then here we have, oh, because we're moving it, I don't think we can do that. This is not declared as mutable. All right, this is honestly very strange at this point, because now we have a mutable reference. I don't know if that's valid. That doesn't feel right. Well, we don't have errors anymore. We have some errors up here. Cannot borrow as mutable more than once at a time. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh no. So does that mean, like okay, so this is the mutable resource from, okay. Is mutable. This takes a mutable world because we do need to spawn the entity from that. Okay. What if I just wrap? What if I wrap all of this into a... We're so close. It's just these two calls are messing me up. What I'm thinking is I probably should not wrap these things into a read-write lock either. We're back to the borrow problem. I don't know. I'm thinking, what would you do here? Because it does need to be a mutable resource. We could just grab it at the very end. No. Because these are very specific things that you need to do, but in a very specific order. Every time, dude. Yeah, because with the bodies and stuff, you create the kinematic body or the dynamic body or what have you. Or do these need to be mutable? If I take that out. I take this out. And then what is the world being used for here? Like, okay, so that does need to be mutable. Because we just pass in a reference to the world, and this is wrong. Because then you can't spawn anything. Yeah, okay. That needs to be mutable. I guess some of these didn't actually need to be... maybe... Insert with parents. No, that needs to be mutable. A mutable reference. Don't know what's going on. I'm running into borrow problems. So as it turns out, this is causing me a lot more problems than I thought it would. Because you can't grab both of these at the same time. Not the parts are mutable, it's a different function. Perhaps. Perhaps. So what I could do is only just, I could just pass in the world. So we take out this part, take out this part. Pretty much all of these, right? So we don't mess with these things at all. Which then causes a problem because now we need to grab the bodies and colliders somehow from here. But then we can just do world, get resource, mute. So it's like rigid body set. And then this needs to be similar. Oh, that's an option, by the way, so unwrap it. This is also still a problem. Mismatched types. So just found a mutable struct. So we can get a reference, a mutable reference, which makes that correct, which makes this incorrect, though, because now that's not. Yeah, because you can't borrow it. Wait. Maybe that's correct. Take out this part. Which then invalidates some of these. What is bodies? We'll do the same thing here? I don't know. I feel like I'm getting kind of close, maybe. This also doesn't feel like it's super correct, though. Because I guess technically they're all on the same object. You don't need this. That seems okay. Now we're back to this problem. Get rid of this, and then the errors start to bubble up. Okay. You can borrow initially and mutate where it's needed. No, you can't do that. That's not how that works. Yeah, cannot borrow a pointer to a world is mutable more than once at a time. And then 391, 398. Yeah, you can't do that. Is there a way for me to get mutable to modify it? Well, I mean that it is what I'm doing, right? Unless I store the collider sets on the actual ECS struct, maybe. But then that makes it hard because I don't have a way to. I still need access to these in the ECS. So the world and then the actual ECS struct are different things. So the world is actually what simulates everything. Well, the world and the schedule. The schedule holds the stages. The world actually holds the entities and components. The ECS is just like the struct. But if it's on the ECS, or if it's in the schedule or whatever, then there's no way for the world to access it. So it needs to be in the world somewhere. Either on a resource that I create or somewhere else. Maybe I just need to have a a different resource that holds the rigid body sets and the collider sets. Like, I feel this is okay. I feel like this is okay. Maybe the Rapier World 2D can hold the rigid body and collider sets. So this is like bodies. So rigid body set. Although doesn't this bring me back to the problem where I can't send these across threads safely? Rigid body set. And then this would be self bodies. Something like that. Get rid of this. Fix all the things that break here. So this is just something that's on the physics world now. So physics world. And we'll borrow these values, I suppose. No, but you're not allowed to do that. Well, actually, no. This doesn't make any sense. You are allowed to do this because I'm not actually needing to borrow these. Because then these just exist on the struct. Now we're back to this problem. But then if I just pass in the physics world as a resource now, then maybe it'll be okay. So ECS world, insert, resource, Rapier world 2D, new. So we'll grab the resource here. So let physics no, because we can't do it like that. But I don't want to. All right, hold on. No, I think I got it. Here, we can do like let physics world equal world get resource mutable. It does need to be mutable, which is the hard part. So this is Rapier world 2D. So we'll grab this. Then in create kinematic body, we'll just get rid of all of this. So then this is physics world. Bodies. And then this needs to be exposed. This is exposed, okay. Oh, right. Cannot borrow because it's not declared as mutable. That's okay, but then this has a problem because you cannot borrow it mutable. What? Ah! But I do need the value. So this is a mutable. Consume self and return a mutable, marking self as changed. Into inner. Ooh, maybe that was it the entire time. That doesn't seem correct though. So if I do like into inner for both of these, does that solve my problem? No, you can't do that. Maybe, okay. So if this one, we do into inner. We also need to unwrap it. And physics world bodies. And then physics world colliders. So then these need to be mutable, add reference. Sure. It's mutable reference. And then Oh, it's so close. Cannot borrow. I thought it was it. What does into inner do? So it dereferences the wrapper. So if I don't do into inner, I don't know if that's super visible, but this is currently a mutable reference. Whereas if we just do it like this, it's a mutable Rapier World 2D. So they are technically distinct. It's hard though. Is there something else? So there's like other functions that you have. As mute is probably pretty close as well. Yeah. I need to think about this. I need to think about this. I need to think about this. Or is there another function on world that I can call? What's the difference? So this is an option mute. This is also an option mute. I guess we could do this, but that's like super unsafe. So we do like Rapier World 2D, then it's unchecked, right? And we just unwrap it. Oh yeah, it's unsafe. I wonder, I'm actually thinking that this might work. The beauty of Rust. No, okay, never mind. Maybe. Nope. I don't know, I'm gonna have to think about this. I was able to at least clean up the code a little bit, but I'm not sure how to... I think I'll need to look at the Rapier Bevy plugin and see how they do it, I guess. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll be live tomorrow from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see if I can work on this a little bit tomorrow before the stream. But your first implementation was better. I think my first implementation was better, because at least everything was like all together. So I think I might scrap a lot of this. But I don't know. It's like the order of how I'm doing things is tough. Yeah, bundling data is usually a better thing to do, for sure. The reason why I unbundled it is because I need to basically have random access to the bodies and the colliders, but I'm not entirely sure how to do that without using like read-write locks. But I'll think about it. But yeah, you know, that's gonna be it for me today. 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. There's a Discord. Give the channel a follow if you haven't already. There's a GitHub. I don't know. I wrote a thing. OBS WebSocket. Wrote that today. How neat. Connects to OBS. That's free and open source. This is free and open source. This is free and open source. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. Goodbye. Git revert.